Jane Sullivan is somebody that we've had on before. She's sports coordinator for the Women's Rights Network, doing really, really good work defending women against the onslaught of attacks from the trans activists. Anyway, English cricket has banned trans players. Jane, tell us more.
Well, they have and they haven't. They've banned males from the female game in Tier 1 and 2, so the elite level professional cricket. But Tier 3, the grassroots recreational cricket, they haven't banned. So your 14-year-old daughter could turn up to a league match on a Saturday afternoon and be playing against a fully grown male. So they haven't banned transgender. They haven't banned males from the female game. They've prevaricated, they've blustered, they've fudged, and it's a complete mess.
And is it very different? Because I know in women's cricket the boundaries moved a bit nearer, but a lot of these former males, well, they're still males, will still have that strength, won't they? And the limb length, which is important.
Well, it's not just that. It's they can
and catching. They can catch better.
I'm
only joking.
and also when they drive to the drive there, they can do that better as well.
Like a girl.
Sorry, Jane.
We could always ask them to bowl underarm for the girls. I mean, what you could do is you could ask them to multitask. That would be the. Oh no, they wouldn't be able to do that. So I mean, it is a mess. I mean, cricket, their transgender policy was written in 2020, and to much outcry, you know, as most of these sports have had. You know, we've been writing to cricket for quite a long time now because we get letters from parents, coaches, players, you know, saying we don't know what to do. We turn up. There's a male on the team. We're not allowed to say there's a male on the team because that would be transphobic. We're not, you know, if we complain, they fob us off. They tell us just to get on with it. And people are really, you know, women and girls are really fed up with it, to be honest.
And they'll leave the sport. That's the tragic thing. They'll leave it. Why would they want to continue?
Exactly. And the problem is, you know, cricket have protected the elite end. Well, they won't have an elite end of cricket if they damage
cricket. But I have to say, cricket are particularly bad offenders. So there was an issue with racism in cricket, some racist language. I have to say, I think most people would accept that cricket is not a racist sport in general. It's one of the few sports really where there's a huge amount of ethnic diversity and always has been. But anyway, I will tell you what cricket has done, because this is going to really shock you. Obviously, most people don't play cricket at primary school, so they need young people to come on board at their junior levels, and it is the private schools that have been putting people forward to join junior cricket, and they've done this report into racism, which has now turned into the major problem is not racism, it's social class. And they've now said in many counties the way to deal with the fact that we're not getting enough state school kids in is to get rid of the youth programmes completely, and a number of counties have done that. So I think these people are woke and a bit dodgy. But I have to say one other thing, Jane, because you've been speaking to women and girls who play cricket. I mean, if one of those balls flies at you at a reasonable speed, you can be killed by it.
Easily, yeah. I know someone severely handicapped by one.
You could be severely hurt, which is why which was why a lot of players wear guards around their head, and you know, I mean, men wear cricket boxes for a reason. It hurts when you get hit by a cricket.
Would some of the trans still need a box?
They would, yeah. Oh my goodness!
Well, you can self-identify into cricket.
Still need
so hang on a second. So we're going. Well, we're going to need a box for all the lady players.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Unbelievable.
And do they have the problems in the dressing rooms as well again? Like they do?
If you can self-identify into a team, you can self-identify into a changing room and toilet. So I mean, it's an absolute nightmare. And people do, you know, we've heard of stories where girls have gone into the changing room and found a man getting undressed and waiting for the girls to get undressed in front of him. It is not on. I mean, you know, changing rooms need to be single sex for a reason. Yeah. We've always had single sex changing rooms. Don't really know why we.
I think it's a great shame, because I think there are people who want to exploit this for sexual reasons. But I even think the genuine trans people are a problem in of themselves, because at the end of the day, some big burly bloke starts throwing a lump of wood at your 15-year-old daughter, he's going to do her a severe injury.
Well, that is the big problem, and cricket have got this thing called this disparity policy where players turn up. So, say in recreational cricket, you get mixed teams, mixed age groups, that sort of thing. And an umpire is supposed to decide on the day if the teams are evenly matched, if it's fair. Well, how do you do that on the day? Say you turn up, there's your daughter's turned up to play, and there's a 6'2" fully grown bloke on the other team, because, you know...
Well, surely the umpire should just say it's unfair, and maybe that's why they've banned it, because it's just not cricket, as they say.
Well, the problem is the umpire's put in a difficult position, because the players are there, they're ready to play. How do you
Well, it's got to be an honourable. If it's not fair, it's not fair. Well,
what you could do is you could just have a weigh-in at the beginning.
It's like when you bring a 15-year-old to an under-12 football match, you know, so you can't, or even if they're the right age, if they're too big, you can't really...
Yeah, but in cricket, you do get... So the older age of junior cricket, the girls can play up. So they play up with the adults.
Yeah, they do.
You know, and that, a lot of sports do that. You know, hockey do it, netball do it.
Yeah, that's why they say under 15s or under 18s, because you can be 18 or under. You can be 12 if you want.
Yeah, and, you know, a very good 15-year-old cricketer would easily play well in say, I don't know, 17-year-old cricket. You know, you get some very precocious players.
In all sports,
there's not usually a problem with it if the girls are all playing against other girls and women.
Jane, we've heard this story many, many times. I appreciate it's something that you have to do every day. Look, we were talking earlier in the show about the fact that the people that we meet, and I don't meet absolutely everybody, the people that we meet completely agree with people like you. There's very few people who go into the pub on a Saturday night and all the blokes at the bar are saying, wouldn't it be great if a big fella went into the girls' changing rooms? Right? That doesn't really happen. But nonetheless, despite the fact that everyone agrees with you and you're talking sense, you are often on the losing side of these arguments. Can you give us a sense of where we're up to with this? Are we starting to get some headway? Are we going in the good direction? Are we going in a bad direction? Does it vary from sport to sport? Where are we up to?
I'd really like to say it's been going in the right direction, but this week has been quite depressing, really. So we did a study of all of the sports that Sport England fund, including cricket, and we found only 8 of them offer fair sport for women from grassroots through to elite. So only 8 sports in the whole of the UK protect the female category.
Which sports are they, just out of interest? Which sports?
Oh, offhand, it's rugby, England volleyball.
That's for girls anyways. Oh, no, that's what... It's netball.
No, volleyball.
Yeah.
I love the beach volleyball.
Gosh, you put me on the spot now.
That doesn't matter.
I'll tell you a really interesting one. Wakeboard and water skiing.
Wakeboard?
Waterboarding?
Yeah. No, water skiing.
Waterboarding, that's what we need.
It's wakeboarding now.
Yeah, the annual competitions in Baghdad. But okay. But what about our friends at boxing? Have we got anywhere with that? Because I have to say, I forget the name of that lady, but I mean, she melted to her knees. If that fight had not been stopped, he'd have killed her.
Yeah. I mean, boxing in this country... Boxing is a really confusing one because there's so many
different
boxing federations and they've all got their own rules. But generally, they have said in this country females should not be in the ring with males, and quite rightly.
And the Olympics, the boxing board actually dropped out because they wanted to ban that. So the IOC took it off them and said, right, we're not going to ban it.
Well, I think there may have been more to it than that. It was something to do with governance and finance and
yeah. Basically, the big problem is, Jane, and I'm not being funny. It was a competition between the boxing people and the IOC to see who were the bigger crooks, and they just couldn't work it out in the end. But I have to say, look, my uncle held the Lonsdale belt in the junior welterweight division, and he was the Irish champion.
He used to pass it to the guy who.
And I'll tell you what. So he's a first standard British and Irish champion. And I have to say, so I know a tiny bit about boxing, and I have to say, if they do not ban men from women's boxing, a woman will be killed. And by the way, those people who think it'll take a long time for the bloke to batter her, do not delude yourself. There will be a one-punch kill.
Well, men kill men in the ring. Barry McGuigan's killed a man. Chris Eubank put a man in a wheelchair. So did Nigel Benn. I mean, they do it to men. So if they fight a woman, they've obviously got thinner skull. They are, you know, weaker.
I mean, that lady at the Olympics, I mean, she was just shell-shocked.
She said she could have been killed. She actually said she was worried for her life.
I think there were 8 women who got into the ring and were forced to fight men at the Olympics.
Yeah,
unbelievable. You know, the Olympics is our paramount sporting event, and it was Olympic sanctioned male violence against women. It was absolutely disgusting. We were so shocked. I watched every single one of those matches, and I felt absolutely sick to watch.
You must have been absolutely terrified because I wouldn't watch it on the basis that I believe the result is inevitable. I'm not saying it would definitely happen at one or other Olympics or one or other competition, but there will be a one-punch kill sooner or later.
Yeah. Well, I watched it because I was doing the Twitter feed for Women's Rights Network, and you know, we were like on there, oh my God, look at this, you know, sort of. So I had to watch it. I've never watched so much boxing in my life as you know, during the Olympics, because it's not a sport I particularly enjoy watching. And I have to say, I was just sickened. I was sickened, not just...
They were sickening punches, weren't they? You're seeing a man, well, what it looked like a man beating up a woman.
Well, it was.
As a sport. Domestic violence as a sport. I mean, men are 60% stronger. If you go in the weightlifting category, the lightest man can lift more than the heavyweight woman. So this just goes to show you.
Well, exactly. I mean, the thing is with the boxing was that it had so many people colluding in the lie, you know, right down from the president of the International Olympic Committee, Thomas Bach, and him sitting there saying, "Oh no, they're female because it says female in the passports."
Yeah, it's just lying. That's the way it goes now, isn't it?
But at the end of the day, if you plated my bones with titanium, I would still be a human. Right, but I guarantee you, if I had a metal hand, right, and thumped you with it, I'm going to kill you, right? But my passport's still going to say man, right? It's not going to say robot, is it? Right? So it doesn't necessarily matter. But what I think, the other thing that must be very frustrating, I saw something. I think it was at the University of Pennsylvania, where a group of girls who'd come 4th, 5th and 6th had their own alternative medal ceremony because they said, we just know we're not going to come 1st, 2nd or 3rd, so there's no point, but we have to make sure the university don't see us do it. But so for me, you know, if I went in, say when I was at university, I used to do debating competitions, right? Imagine I arrived and they suddenly said that the people I was debating against were doing it in Japanese, right? I wouldn't be able to, no matter how good I was, I wouldn't be able to beat them. And what must be horrendous for these women is to spend their entire life working towards this goal of going to the Olympics and then thinking, I might as well have not bothered. It's impossible. You might as well put me up against a leopard.
Plus the people that would have qualified for the Olympics are staying at home because a former man took their role.
And there's many
and
of
that goes back and back and back, you know, constantly to county level.
You know, we saw at Tokyo, do you remember the weightlifter from New Zealand, Laurel Hubbard?
Yeah.
I mean, there was
and she didn't win, or he didn't win, did they?
That's the one that looked like Meatloaf.
Embarrassing, yes.
But the woman
that was a rare beauty, wasn't it?
he got the place of a woman who should have been there, you know, and it was her one chance.
Do you know what I think we should do next Olympics, right? I'm not joking. I think Mike Tyson should self-define as a woman, right? And then what he should do is he should fight all the blokes, see how they like it. Right, just go. All right, you know what? If this is going to be a farce, it's going to be a farce. Tyson will fight. Tyson will step out of the ring against any genuine female and forfeit the match. But against any male, he's going to go for it.
Well, mind you, the next Olympics is in the USA, so
so come on, Mike.
Really,
come on, Michelle Tyson.
Do you think the last Olympics seemed like a damp squib, didn't it? And do you think that was because of the transfer? Is that just me? I didn't really bother watching it because I just thought it doesn't feel like the Olympics anymore.
Oh, Oh, I don't know. No, I watched masses of Olympics. I love the sport. This is the horrible thing. I love watching the sport. I love watching the cycling. I love triathlon.
It's just men riding around.
But how welcome, but Jane, on a serious note, and look, you know, our viewers and listeners have a great deal of respect for you, and you know, bluntly, you're the sort of person they quite like. But you must not find it easy to attend some of the sporting things perhaps you used to in the past.
I have to compartmentalise the people who are working their socks off to get to things like the Olympics, the actual athletes who don't want any of this.
No.
They can't speak, you know, because they're worried about their careers. So I compartmentalise it. The athletes, I have every sympathy for. I will watch them, and I love watching the sports. But the people who run sports, I'd say that they haven't got women and girls' best interests at heart, and we have to just keep fighting it. And in a way, we're kind of fighting for those athletes that can't speak. And we get the occasional letter from people, you know, saying, "Oh, thank you for what you do. I can't say anything because I would lose my job, or I would lose my sponsorship, or you know." But people like me, I mean, I can say what I want really, because you know I'm retired.
One step away.
Just a matter of interest. On the subject of the boxing again. Now, apologies because I don't know what the rules are, but if I was a female boxer and I was to face one of these burly blokes, what happens if I just say I'm not willing to do this because it might endanger my life? Is there a sanction on somebody who refuses to get into the ring? I imagine there would be.
There's the sports court arbitration, isn't there?
I don't know what the boxing rules are, but if you look in America at the moment, you've got these teams of volleyball girls who are forfeiting their matches because there are so many trans-identifying males on opposite teams, and they're saying now that they're not prepared to put their lives at risk, because a real hard punch from a volleyball hit by a man against a woman, and we've seen it. You know, a woman has been seriously hurt in the USA in volleyball because of a punched ball. I can't remember the name of the technical term for a spike. And she's still getting medical treatment a year later. Now, I just want to give a big shout out for England volleyball, who went against the world governing body and said, we're not doing this. We're not having men in our teams, in our women's teams, and thank you very much. We'll make our own rules. So women in England, I'll tell you what, if you want a sport that's protected, go and play volleyball.
Yeah. Didn't they get in trouble with the Netball Association or whatever?
The netball's another one. They protect the elite category,
got it mixed up
but netball don't protect grassroots. So in fact, netball's a big headache for us at the moment. We've had letters this week from coaches saying, I've turned up a match, there's a boy in the other team, I don't know what to do. I mentioned it to England Netball, they fobbed me off, they said it's okay, you know, what's going on? Netball is a traditionally women's and girls' game.
The miniskirt thing, isn't it?
It's like
a miniskirt they're wearing.
Yeah, exactly. Millions of us have played netball.
It's good that we're doing a programme that's not about sexism, isn't it?
No, but I mean, it is like that, isn't it? I mean, it's not much different.
A man can wear a miniskirt.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I can tell you, we also have a load of research about why girls don't want to play sport, because they have to play
in a miniskirt. Beach volleyball's even worse. It's terrible. They're basically naked.
Well, I have to say, we've got to leave it there, Jane, but thank you for everything that you do for women in sport. I think that, you know, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people across this country who really appreciate it. Unfortunately, we live in a world now where our political elite don't respect the views of actual people, but it is good to see somebody who's willing to stand up and be counted in the way that Jane is. That's Jane Sullivan, sports coordinator for the Women's Right Network.